Hey everyone, welcome to Marketing Monday with the Watertown Oswego SBDC, where we talk about marketing things every Monday, just as the title suggests. I'm here with Liz and Erica from the Watertown SBDC. Hey ladies, how's it going?
Hey, Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
The sun is shining. It's 48 degrees according to my computer, even though I'm inside. What's not to like?
Yeah,
It's April. I mean, come on.
we'll take it, right?
Yes, we
Um,
will.
yeah, and I know you guys have something going on that you're still accepting registration for. Do you want to talk a little bit about it, Liz?
Absolutely. We have a basics of building your business class, which is a 7-part entrepreneurial class, all Zoom all the time. And there's no cost. It starts on Tuesday, the 19th of April, and there's 7 separate sessions. Erica is leading one of them. And in fact, I know, right? The last one, she's the capstone, as they say in higher ed. And one of the things we think that's really cool is that we have local working professionals presenting this. And it's for anybody you may have a small business started or you may be getting ready to start one. But we're going to take you through accounting and bookkeeping and lending and commercial real estate and marketing.
And marketing.
But the capstone course, which I'm really excited about, is we do a lot of work with hard skills, like here's how to put an entry in that ledger, and here's how to set up a safety procedure. This is the soft skills. This is the how do you prepare yourself and your family for business ownership, because it is different and it is taxing on a family. And so we're excited to be offering that for the first time. And the other thing I want to say is that today is the day that that applications open for the New York State Child Care Desert Grant. This is not our child care training. This is open to people who want to open a daycare. It really is kind of runs parallel to what we're doing, but it's not the same thing. So if you Google, if you're in Jefferson Lewis counties, it's capc.org has all the information, or you can just Google New York State Child Care Desert. That's 1S, because what's that thing they taught us in school? Desserts is 2S, because it's twice as nice as the desert, right? So, but there's a lot of funds being made available in New York State for childcare stabilization. So if you're so inclined, give us a call, shoot us an email, or go to that website and see what's there for you.
Right. And so there's information about that upcoming small business workshop series. So if you're starting a business, and that starts next Tuesday, and you can go on the Facebook page, there's information there. You can also email the SBDC with the address on your screen and either learn about that, learn about the childcare deserts.
Yes.
I was like, my mind was on desserts. But you can also email the SBDC if you want to make an appointment with one of their counselors. So we'll just leave that on the screen for a second, so you can write it down. You can share it with somebody who wants to start a business or wants to get their business to the next level. So So today our series continues. We're doing social media ads as sort of a theme for April. And last week we talked about sort of like not best practices, but sort of some general information about approaching ads in general. And so if you are the kind of person who is intimidated by the ad interface or whatever, this is the broadcast for you. And the main thing is I was preparing for this, and you guys, please stop and ask me questions. You know me, sometimes I get in the weeds a little bit, and I really appreciate you're like the stand-in for the audience who's like, what is this lady talking about? But the main thing, if I could, I guess, impart some information here, is like, if you're thinking of doing ads, don't let the interface intimidate you, because it can feel intimidating because you've never done this before. It seems like there's a lot of words like conversions and campaigns and things like that. But like, obviously, these companies are going to make it as easy as possible for you to spend money with them. And you just got to take the steps one at a time. And in planning for this, we talked about kind of doing an ad set for the SBDC as sort of a guinea pig. So that's what we're going to do here. And the first step, obviously, is choosing an objective. And so we talked last week about sort of the different objectives, which is basically like eyeballs or reach, consideration. So somebody is clicking on a link, someone's watching 50% of a video, something like that. and then conversions. Someone makes a purchase, someone fills out a form. And obviously, the more we ask of people, the more that's going to cost. Kind of makes sense, right? And so, so I'm just giving these couple of steps, and then I'm going to play a video, which is I'm warning the people it's going to be a little long. And by long, I mean it's me setting up the ad set for the SBDC. It's about 10 minutes long, but I go through all of the steps. So if you feel intimidated by the sort of Facebook interface, you can just kind of like bookmark that part and watch it when you want to, or just like kind of follow along with me. And to me, like the more times you see kind of someone setting up an ad, the easier it is. So choosing an objective. And in that first video, I'm going to show in a couple of minutes, I talk about the objective I picked for you guys, which was, now you have an Eventbrite link set up. And so I could have optimized for clicking on the Eventbrite link. But because you're the SBDC, and it's a free workshop and people would be talking about it, I optimized for event like interest or whatever. So someone clicking on the share button, someone RSVPing on Facebook. I incentivized that instead because I thought that would be a little bit more powerful for you guys. Now, I could have optimized the conversion instead, say like, okay, everybody who clicks on the Eventbrite link, I could, but I did not. I instead optimized for the sharings to make it so that more people were talking about it. And the other thing, besides considering an objective, is to me, if you're going to run an ad, you might as well learn something while you're running it, because like I'm doing some ads for a client right now. He's kind of a new client. So this is our 5th round of ads together. And we've gotten his Facebook likes. He really wants them below 50 cents. We got them down to 36 cents now because we're learning about his audience. We're trying stuff out. And so what I did for you guys is we tested something. We tested an event graphic. So you have the event graphic that you made on the event. And then I just uploaded a stock photo because we were just testing it. And I just wanted to see like which was going to do better. Now I know what we think sometimes, I don't know. I've been in meetings before where people are talking about, well, I think we should change it to this because people will like it better on our website. We can just run a test. We can just actually test it. I mean, we can sit and debate it all day. That's fine. If you're salaried and you want to sit in meetings and talk about whether you think the button should be blue or red and whatever, that's fine. But we can also just run a test and see which one converts better. So what I did with you guys is, like I said, I decided to test the creative of the ad. So the actual image that went with the ad. So you can also test audiences and other things. Again, I'll get into that in that little 10-minute video. By the way, for the people watching this now, I condensed that video. It was much longer, but I really just got it to the parts where I wasn't, like I had to go and find an image, right, that I could use in the ad. So I cut out all that part, and I just really got it down to just the ad part. And then the third thing is actually going through the process and setting up the ad. So we're going to watch this video. I don't know how this is. I mean, I've never played a 10-minute video on this live stream before. We'll see if we lose people. If you're watching this, feel free to leave a comment of like, oh, this was really helpful, or oh, this was really terrible. But like I said, this is the longest video we're going to see today. So I don't know. Feel free to, stand up and stretch while you're watching, whatever. And so this was me taking out this is past Nicole, and I think I refer to myself as past Nicole in the video because I was in a punchy mood that day as well. So without further ado, here's past Nicole sending up the ad for the SBDC that we're going to talk about today. Hey everyone, this is past Nicole. There's an upcoming workshop, and we obviously want people to register for that. So there's a registration link here. But the other thing that we might want is we might want people to just see this event, or like, that more eyeballs on it. Maybe that means that people will invite people or share it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pick an engagement objective instead of a conversion objective. We're going to go event responses. Okay. And I'm going to name my event. Really good to name your ads as you go along. And I'm going to name these other ad sets as I'm going along. But okay, so now what it's going to do is it's going to take us through the steps, because don't worry, whatever platform you want to use, they're going to make it as easy as possible for you to spend money. Auction type, our objective is event responses. Now, if we don't care about testing things, we can just turn this off, but I don't see why you wouldn't want to spend at least your first few ad sets that you were going to run learning something. Now, this other option is campaign budget optimization. So if I want to run an ad and I want it to spend $100 for each set, if I click optimization, what's going to happen is as the ad starts running, it's going to start putting money toward the cheaper ad, which I'm testing. I don't want it to do that. So if you have this on, keep this off. Click next. So this is go. Now, if I want to, I can also, besides setting an overall budget, which I can do here, in addition to being able to where I could set it earlier, I can also do a cost control. So let's say that I was willing to pay up to $1 for someone to engage with this. I can set a maximum bid. And what'll happen if I bid too low, the ad set just won't show up. So I had a client who wanted to get more Facebook likes, and he told me he wanted to spend 30 cents per like. So I set the cost control at 30 cents. The ad set wouldn't show up. And I said, we can either broaden the audience or we can go up in this budget. And he said, you know what? I'm willing to spend 50. And sure enough, we changed it to 50. Now we're getting 45 cents a like on that campaign. Cost control, it's optional. And I'm going to put a lifetime budget of, and I love how it just puts a number in there. You can make this number like whatever. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it for a week on the 31st. They always like put in a month as like the default. And I have more budgets here, run ads all the time, or I guess if I wanted to turn on scheduling, I could run ads specific hours at specific times. So like, right, if you're a restaurant and you want to run ads at a little bit before your happy hour and have them automatically turn off, I think that's what you can do here. Now, this is audience. So audience is who is going to see this ad set. So I know that the Watertown Oswego SBDC has a specific location that it serves in terms of, so I'm going to just see, I'm going to put, okay, so I'm going to put Lewis County, Jefferson County. And sometimes you have to, the thing with any of these ad platforms is they're not as smart as you think they would be. You have to put it in exactly right. So if something doesn't come up, just try a different variation. Okay, and then the other one is Oswego County, New York. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we can target by county, we can target by address or whatever. And so let's see, this looks like a pretty good reach estimated audience. As you see here, the audience definition, we're in the green. We don't want to go too broad. We don't want to go too specific. I'm just going to try something here. I'm going to actually do some, hold on, detailed targeting. Yeah, I'm going to look at the detailed targeting, and I'm going to look for people who are interested in small business. Okay, I'm just going to put this in. Okay, and now as we see here, this changed from like 150,000 to 77,000. We're still in the green. That's still good. So I'm going to just type in business and see what comes up. People who have expressed interest or like pages related to business. Okay. So let's see. Small business. Okay, I'll type in business again and see what else comes up. Home business. Interest in pages related to home business. Okay. As you see, the more of these things I add back in, the larger the audience gets. It's not quite at the 150 it was before we started adding these targeted interests. But anyway, we can just keep adding stuff. Now, different platforms have different things we can specify here. So like LinkedIn, we can target by job title. I'm trying to think. That's like a specific one I can think of. But point being is that, you know, different platforms have different audiences and you can specify here. I actually think that this is pretty good. And for my A/B test, right, it's going to say, well, what am I testing? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to test some visuals. I'm going to test what's called creative. I'm going to test 2 different images for this ad set to the same audience. And I'm going to see which one performs better. But we can also test audiences. We can test, those are like the 2 big ones, but you can test other things too. But remember, we only want to test one variable at a time. or else if you try to like just do too many different things and you run ads and you have one really good ad set, you don't know what part of that ad set's really good if you have like all these different things going on. So we're only going to change one thing at a time. And connections, all people. If we wanted to exclude people who were connected to the Watertown Oswego SBDC's Facebook page, we could do that here. But we want people who follow the SBDC to see this so that maybe they can share it, okay? So we're going to just keep this. I'm going to call this Save This Audience, and I'm going to call this, again, we want to name these things because if we're going to ever use them again, it's helpful. I'm just going to save this. And then we have automatic or manual placements. What this allows us to do is, let's say that we did not want this to show on Instagram. We could do the manual placements and we could literally turn off individual settings. So I'm just going to leave it automatic. So I'm going to say, all right. So now we're going to create the ad. So where's the Facebook event URL? So I'm going to go grab that here. Boom. There we go. There's the workshop. And this is what it's going to look like. And if we want, we could, it's showing us this is what it's going to look like in the Facebook feed. There's a way for me to see what all these different things look like. Primary text is what it's going to say. And I'm not going to, here we go. I could add some URL parameters if I was going to be tracking this on the website. When I hit publish, all right. Now it's going to ask me, what do I want to A/B test? It's going to say, great. Now, but remember how you said you wanted to test something? we got to figure that out. So that's what we're doing now. Okay, we're going to make a copy of this ad. Yep. And we're going to select a variable to test. Oh, placement. Okay, that's the other. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to creative, okay? It's not going to let me change the text yet. It's just going to call it copy, which is silly. They want you to spend a certain amount of money so that you get it in front of a certain amount of people to actually run the test. So let me just duplicate the ad set and then I'm going to go change the creative. Okay, so let's see. Which one is the okay, this is the copy. I call this, just so I can tell the difference between, this one has the stock photo and I'm going to change this, I'm going to change this right here. So I'm going to get rid of the media. Boom. And all right, we're going to add the media. We're going to upload our image. Images have to be a certain size, like for display purposes. They have to be a high enough resolution. There we go. I'm going to select this and click next. Let's go 1-to-1. We're going to just do that. Here we go. And then done. So instead of the event graphic, it's just pulling the stock photo. So we can test kind of which one is more interesting here. All right. So I'm going to click publish. Okay. It's green. It looks happy. So I'm going to X out of here. So as you see here, the ad set's toggled on. It's processing. So it's going to go through an approval process. There's our two ad sets. There's our two different pictures. And I've also named them so I could tell them apart. And then here's our ad because we're running the ad to the event. So that's pretty much it. And I know that was kind of a technical thing to like have set up. I know I'm sorry if that felt like getting run over by a truck, but I hope that it was moderately helpful in kind of walking through the different decisions you make as you're going through things. And by the way, like if you're setting up a Google ad, it's really similar. If you're setting up a Pinterest ad, it's really similar. It's going to ask you similar questions. It's going to ask you about an audience. It's going to ask you about an objective and all of that. Yeah, go ahead, Erica.
Was that Facebook? Because I couldn't tell from.
That was Facebook. Yep.
Okay.
It's Meta Business Suite because now we're
right
instead of Facebook Business Manager, which maybe I've referred to it as before because
well, that's what they called it before, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I'm so used to the older names of it. So I know what you're thinking, right? Like, why did you test something? And I thought, well, if I'm going to run ads in the future, I want to know what kinds of things do well with the audience. So do either of you have any predictions of how this is going to go? whether the stock photo ad is going to go better than the event graphic and how much better it's going to go one way or the other?
I'm going with the event graphic with a 10-point spread, Alex.
Yeah, I'm going with the event graphic too.
Okay. So now, okay, that was a long thank you all for bearing, and by all, like the person who has stayed throughout, because I saw some people joined us and were like, whoa, and left. So this is going to be a much shorter one.
One of those was me because I couldn't see the details on this screen, so I pulled it up on my desktop, but I still had a tough time seeing.
I know the font size is really small to be able to see stuff.
But also, people should be able to zoom in by, like, if you go on your mouse or wherever you are on and be able to, you should be able to expand it so you can see better. I had to do that and it worked.
Yeah, well, here's hoping. But okay, so now you set up the ad and I pressed I turned it on. It took about 24 hours for it to approve, and I think the reason it took long is because I've never run an ad. Like, I've never run an ad for you guys, so it doesn't know me. But as you get used to running ads, things can turn around pretty quickly, like within minutes or hours. So it turned on about 24 hours later, and I logged in to check on how it was doing. So here's, again, past Nicole, but more recent past, checking on the ad as it's going along.
Hey guys, it's Nicole. So it's been about 24 hours since I turned on this ad. It did take a long time to approve it. I think it's probably because I've never run an ad to the SBDC's page before, so it wanted to make double sure that I was okay, maybe. So it took about 24 hours for it to publish, and it's been running for probably about 12, so most of today. Now, just as a reminder, right, we're trying to spend an equal amount of money. That's what we're doing with this little Erlenmeyer flask indicates we're doing an A/B test. So we're looking to spend an equal amount of money, which I guess I accidentally set to $300 total, across both of these ad sets. I meant to spend $300 on the campaign, but I can fix that, and we don't need to worry about it right this second, because you'll see. So let's take a look at the results and what's going on so far. By the way, you can reorder these columns within, and you can pick which ones are showing and customize, where they are and all that. So, all right, so we're just using the default option here. So if we look at the stock photo, we see that we've gotten 4 event responses from the stock photo and 5 from the default event graphic, okay? You see the reach is similar. Again, we're reaching the same audience. So the fact that the reach is very similar makes sense to me, and that impressions, because we're trying to show it, right, with the same amount of frequency and see who reacts better, right? So if we look over here, the cost per result for the stock image is $3.45 per event response, and for the stock image, it's a little bit less, $3.12. Now, we have spent a total of $29. This is a pretty small sample size, so I'm going to let this run probably another day, because it is worth $29 for me to find out which of these graphics is working better. Now, let's say that this cost per result was bumming you out, like it's kind of high, right? What we can do, if we wanted to, we could make an adjustment and we could go into the campaign and we could set a maximum bid of a result, right? So you remember when I set up the ad, I didn't set a maximum, I just wanted it to show. So this is what it's currently going for. Now, if I wanted to, I could, say, bring the maximum cost down to like $2.50 or whatever, and see if the ad stopped displaying. That might be an interesting test. Now, it's good when you run ads to not be in a hurry, because you have time to learn things. So, if you're thinking about running ads, say for a holiday season, or if you have an event coming up this summer, it's good to start running these tests before you have the thing going on, so that you can learn this in a non-hurried way. Now, I will point out that it looks like here that the default image is the winner, but I want to show you something else, which is why it's important to look at this from the holistic perspective. Let's look at the link clicks. So these are people who saw the ad and then clicked to look at the event. So they clicked the event link. So 7 clicks from the stock photo and 4 clicks from the default image. So depending on what we were thinking is successful, whether it was a lower cost for an event action or whether it was we wanted more people to click on the link to go to the event, the answer to like which ad is performing better is actually different. So the stock photo is performing better to get people to click through, but the default image is actually less expensive to get a result. So yeah, a little nuanced. So we're going to let this run some more, and we're going to log back in later and make some adjustments, because that's part of ad management, is logging in every day or so, making some adjustments so that, you know, you don't spend too much of your money learning something that you've already learned. But I just want to make sure, because these numbers are pretty close together, if this result was like, if one of them was 50 cents and one of them was $5 or something, if there was a big difference, I might just call it now, but I feel like I want a little bit more data. And what you'll notice is I said I was willing to spend $300 per ad, and it's been on 12 hours and it's spent $13. Like, it's having a hard time because I've set a parameter of person who I want to see this ad. So even though I'm willing to spend the money, there might not be enough people for it to Facebook to show the ad to, for it to spend as quickly as you think it would. So sometimes you can set an artificially high budget, and it's not like you're going to wake up the next morning and all $300 is going to be gone. But this budget communicates a willingness to Facebook that I'm willing to spend that kind of money. So yeah. All right. So we'll be back in a couple of days where I'm going to make some adjustments, probably end of day tomorrow, and we'll look at how things are going.
I have a clarifying question about that. What in that instance, what does results mean? Because, you know, in the other section where it was showing there was actually a click on the link, but what does results mean as far as the engagement level?
So we, at the beginning of the ad set, we picked that we were optimizing for event responses. So that's somebody, I think somebody like saying that they're interested, somebody saying that they're going, or potentially someone sharing, although I have to double check that. But that's what we were, like I said, at the beginning, when I thought like, okay, I could take out an ad to get more people to click to Eventbrite. But what I really want for the SBDC is, because it's a free event and because like it's the more eyeballs, the better, I really wanted to optimize for event responses instead. But I really could have gone the link click way. And that's why I kind of wanted to show that like it's collecting this information, and you don't have to pay. Like I said, we're willing to pay $300, but people interested in small business or owning a business in the 3 counties that you guys serve, it's not like 10 million people. So it can't, and Facebook just can't show us ads or we would never go on it. And you probably have you noticed that Facebook has like upticked the amount of ads you're seeing? Mm-hmm. I think they've just wanted to make more money. So like, I think what they're testing out on us is how many ads will we tolerate as somebody who's on Facebook. Right. But at the same, so you have other people, you have other businesses in your area who might be running ads to the people in the county. You know, you might have, and like I said, and Facebook has a certain amount of space that's willing to show ads on. So, so that's why I tell people, like, if you set a high budget, but you've limited your audience, like it's not, and I also said I wanted the ad to run for a week. So I was not going to wake up the next morning and have $300 be gone, because I wanted the ad to last 7 days and the audience was relatively small. Now, if we were in New York City or something, maybe that would be an actual problem, right? But if you're in a small area like we are, if you're targeting a very specific group of people, it's not really a problem.
But it's also a situation where, like, I mean, if you opened it up, which maybe you did, I don't know yet, but if you opened it up, then it's like, you know, you think about the people who are, if one of the results is to share, they might not be interested in small business, but they're sharing it with somebody who is, right? So opening it up to a larger audience might make sense, right? Is that
right? Yeah. So we and that, so in testing something, so like right now, the easiest thing I thought to test, especially in a sort of a training situation, was this image versus this image. But we could also have tested the audience. And what we can do is say, like, okay, this first ad set, we're testing this. Then after we're going to, so like you have, Erica, that's a really good idea for like the next ad set to test, right? So what you always want to be doing, besides getting the results you want, is learning something that's going to help you in your future ads so that they're more effective and less expensive. So,
and I was going to ask quickly too, is there any way to test like the objective, right? It didn't look like it, but
You could run an ad set at the same time.
Okay,
The
yeah.
same group of people with a different objective.
Right.
So
But
it
it's
wouldn't
not
be-
one of their criteria for a test, but it
No.
could be two separate ones that you do. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. You could totally do that. That would
Yeah.
be really interesting, actually. So
Yeah.
see, you guys have the data minds. Like you're already thinking that way. So, so I'm gonna, I'm not gonna bury the lead here. This was the results from our A/B test. I got a little email, and it said so by copy, or so the original thing got 38 event responses. We paid $2.63, spending a total of $99.81. The stock photo one, which was the copy, got 21 event responses. They cost $4.07, so almost double. So the event graphic that your designer created is infinitely more successful than just using a stock image. And let me tell you, I see a lot of really lazy people, and I did a sort of lazy test on purpose, but I see people who just throw up a stock image and think it's good. But, your event graphic cut your acquisition costs in half in that case. So now, so that graphic is working. Let's try a different audience, like Erica said, or let's try a different objective for this same ad set, So now the other part of this, right, besides what Facebook is telling us happened, and and we can take a look at that together too, and within the Facebook ad thing is, what happened on Eventbrite, which was right where the event where people can register,
Right.
and what happened on your Facebook page in terms of did more people get to the Facebook page, just on your Facebook page in general. And so we're going to take a look at that now. So the first thing I will say, actually, and I'm going to keep this on the screen, is that if you look back at the 10-minute long thing I did setting up the first ad, at the end, I was like, oh, and we could set up a tracking link here if we were going to put it on the website. So you might ask yourself, okay, I would know how to do that on my website, but what if I was using Eventbrite or some other third-party thing? Could I track it? And it looks like there is a way. If I would have set a pixel, which we'll talk about next week, we would have been able to actually track the number of clicks from Facebook to Eventbrite. But Eventbrite doesn't tell us. It just says outside. It just says outside or Eventbrite, unless you create the environment where you can pull those reports. But
I just want to reiterate that I think that it's so important to pay attention to this on the analytics side, because we're actually dealing with some things right now whereby we really should have gotten these things set up in Eventbrite because we really are wanting to track some things that we can't now. So I think it's really important to kind of dig in and figure out and think about setting these things up if you're going to spend the money on an ad, especially.
Right. And don't be too hard on yourself though, as you're starting to do this stuff. You can't do you're not going to think of everything at once. And so if you run a couple of ad sets that could have been better run, it's this is a marathon, not a sprint, just like anything in business. So so don't be too hard on yourself. Now, we ran the ad the last week of March, and so as you see here, we did get some more, and these are people who signed up. So this was an extra sort of direct traffic. Yeah, direct traffic, Eventbrite app. Yeah, so direct traffic was you guys were linking directly to it. So I feel like anything you've been doing is the direct traffic. You sharing the direct link to the event is what it's tracking here. And as you see, during the period that we ran the ad, we did get some a sort of heightened period of signups. If we look at this, it's so funny too, because when you'll see data people and they'll be like, well, look how it's double. And it's okay, it went from 2 to 4 people to 6 to 7 people. We can kind of slow. Yeah. Right. But, but it's important to kind of know that. And we can see by date kind of how things were going. But the other thing I wanted to also pull up was to make sure, since you guys have a very specific area that you serve. And if we look, we see that, and I'm not sure with online programs, if you guys do serve additional, it looks like you got some attendees in Brooklyn. It looks like you got some attendees in, Ithaca. I'm not sure if you serve all these areas, but
those are correlated to our, our affiliated SBDC centers.
Okay, got it.
work
makes
too.
sense.
So, and
Right.
then getting everything.
There's a central repository for all New York State SBDC training at nysbdc.org. So and ours is up there. So if I was in any part of New York State and I say, oh, I really want to take an entrepreneurial skills course, we offer them, all of us offer them all the time, but this one works with my schedule. It doesn't matter where I am, I'm signing up. Now, the people from Massachusetts and Maryland, I don't know. That's the power of the forward, or it could be someone who is a former client who is in college now, or who moved there, or who knows? It's fascinating. When Eric and I looked at it on Friday, though, we were struck by, yes, there's a nice big concentrated yellow bubble near Watertown and Lewis County and Oswego County, but there's some nice distribution. So it was actually fascinating to see.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that's another way, if you're taking out a geographically specific ad, to see, okay, are geographically specific people even getting to here? And if we know that, like, this is, one of the main ways you're marketing it, Facebook can take some of the credit for that. Now, the other thing we can do is look at overall sort of Watertown SBDC Facebook stuff. Now, can you tell where the ad happened?
So just generally, it was nice. It was a nice week for us. Yeah.
Right. So like we see an increased page reach. And we do see some, and you guys don't have an Instagram page, but because remember when I was setting up the ad, I said, oh, like I could do, I could specify placements and get rid of the placements on Instagram, but it looks like a couple of people came on from Instagram to your Facebook page to kind of see what was going on.
We do have an Instagram.
We do have Instagram.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
yep.
Maybe it took it out to, okay. Scratch that then. I just went with automated placements. I didn't even think anything about it. And so we see like, an increased visits to your Facebook page, and stuff like that. And we see, some extra followers for your Instagram followers. Fun. And as you see, like the period sort of before was, a little bit flatter, but this is paid.
Yeah.
And what's really funny, one of my clients before we started, she was like, oh, like the agency that's working with me, like we got a bunch of likes. And then I just went to this section and they were all paid. So if you ever wonder if your internet marketing person is buying stuff on your behalf, like,
my gosh,
you can tell when they know that that's happening. But as you see here, like, I wasn't taking out an ad against your will or anything. So it's,
we were fully aware of this.
Yeah, totally.
That's right. Full disclosure.
Full disclosure. And, like.
Interesting though.
Yeah. And so, with the, so the ad is done. And by the way, this data stays with your Facebook, your ads account. So as you run future ads, you'll be able to pull reports and things like that, compare them to each other. So, this historical data will always be available, and we can see, the amount of money spent, we can see the cost per result. And so we can see so according to Facebook, we sent 62 people to Eventbrite with this campaign. Now, I can't independently prove that looking at Eventbrite because I didn't set up the tracking code. But we would be able to do that as well. So
if you'd set up the tracking code, would it have given us the data of they went to Eventbrite and they signed up for the event?
Potentially. I'd have to look at what Eventbrite lets us track, but if this was on your website and you wanted to track like views versus sign up versus whatever, that is something you could totally do.
Right.
With the tracking.
Eventbrite seems a little like basic with regard to that as far as getting.
It just might take some extra kind of setup on your behalf, but we see that, and so tell me like about sort of the offline, like, because I don't know the offline stuff. You guys are in the office, you guys are talking to people. Have you been getting more email inquiries? Have you been getting more phone calls? Have you gotten a lot of signups and interest versus other times you've run this?
Yes, we have. We have 61 people, I think, signed up right now, which is for us really huge. In general, we are busier than we've ever been. And part of that, there's a bunch of different things that contribute to it. But definitely part of it is we have, since late last fall been doing more consistent social media posting and more targeted. Like we've looked at what worked and what didn't work instead of just before we were doing it more informally, kind of just sharing events that we were doing and what was happening in other places. But we've done like, inspirational quotes. We've done client testimonials. We've done business facts. For February, we talked about Black and African American owned businesses. For March, we talked about women owned businesses. So there's been a bunch of different factors that I think have contributed to that. Also, honestly, I think the environment in our area is more open to entrepreneurialism than some places because speaking frankly, we don't have huge employers adding, that everybody needs help, but we don't have the huge employer base. We have, and I think a lot of younger people are seeing as business ownership as their ticket, the thing that works for them in their lives at this time. So it's all anecdotal though, no empirical facts or data whatsoever there.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is like I will never take full credit, like if my clients do well, like with ads, but like, I mean, I can see what's happening kind of on my end, but obviously there's usually like a lot more factors than just the Facebook ads that are happening, So
Yep.
I don't want to like act like Facebook is going to save everything or change your whole life because it won't, but like it can really help you do some of these things. And I guess I wanted to go through this together. I mean, we called this broadcast, I called it Social Media Ads 101. Just this idea of like, you go through the setup and you really think about like, how do I want to answer these specific questions in my ad setup? How do I want to, do I want to set a maximum per result? Do I want to, and in the end, saving the audience that you make. So for example, with you guys, like I made that audience of the 3 counties, people interested in small business, and I saved it. So if I ever want to use that in an ad again, I can. And,
Right.
and all of these platforms have the ability to have these custom audiences. And I know that it's really tempting to just hit the boost button and to answer 5 questions and give them your credit card number and be done with it. But you're not going to get this kind of data. You're not going to learn anything. And so to me, if you're going to have an ongoing relationship with ads, if you want something beyond like, oh, I paid an extra $5 and an extra 1,000 people saw it. If you want to see what you got from it, I really think it is worth getting into the guts of the ad platform. So to iterate, do not let the interface intimidate you. There are people dumber than you who run these ads. Okay. You can do it. You just haven't seen it before. So you're gonna, like I said, every ad platform works this exact same way. You're gonna choose an objective. Obviously, the more specific or sort of money oriented it is, you're gonna pay more, right? But if you know what your numbers are, you can pick the number that you're willing to spend. I like to test stuff. The little Erlenmeyer Flask, the little A/B test on Facebook. And I think the other platforms have the ability to do that as well. I think it is nice to learn something if you can, so that over time your ads get cheaper. If you don't want to test anything, I'm not going to make you do the science experiment against your will. Like you're done with school, you've taken the science classes, I understand, but like I think it is important to test stuff. And then you just go through the process of setting up the ad, and throughout the whole process, whenever I always do these, by the way, in the client's account, except for you guys, I didn't do that because I just used mine because I was using my card for a long story reason. But for your own sanity, naming stuff as you go, so that when you're when you're looking at this 6 months from now, it doesn't just say ad number 1. Like, so it says like, oh, this was the ad we ran to the upcoming, basics of building your business workshop, where we tried the stock image versus, so I really tried to name everything as I was going, so that if you pull reports, if you look at things, it actually makes sense in the future. I always think past Nicole and current Nicole. I always think about future Nicole and what's easier for her. And so think about yourself too, if you're doing that in your business. And then I logged in and I checked the ad. That's what I did. And I was like, okay, like this is what I'm seeing, so I'm going to let it run. But like, if I did see a big cost difference, I would have turned it off. If I, something like that. And you just have to understand when you're running the ad, you're going to log in every day or so, and you might turn it off, you might change something about it, whatever. And then at the end, we look at our results and we decide what's next. And Erica had some, hey, we could test, a wider audience. Right. We could test, and I forgot what the other one was, but there was 2 really good ideas.
Objectives, actually.
Objectives. Yeah.
Right.
We could run 2 ad sets at the same time with 2 different objectives and see which one did better, so all the time you're not just thinking about the next ad set because you want to keep spending money, but just thinking about when it is the holidays and ad costs go up, or when it is when it's time for you to launch your new product, this information because you've been collecting and thinking about it as you go along. So,
I had one other question for you directly.
Yeah.
When the ad doesn't display because you either don't have enough money in it or you're whatever, however that works, does it let you know that at all?
Well, you log in and it just says it's on and spending $0.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So it's just not okay. That's how
Facebook won't email you and say, "Hey, your ad totally stinks, isn't running."
Right.
But when you log in, it'll just say 0. It'll just not be spending money. And
it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious when it's not running. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it'll say it'll be green. It's on. It's published.
Right.
It looks good. And then you'll go and be like, "Oh, how much does it spend?" Oh, it spent $0, or it spent 10 cents or something. And you're like, "Okay, this isn't doing well." So usually, like I said, to me, there's something about it. Facebook doesn't want to run this ad, or it's legal. That's why it's published. It's not breaking any rules or anything with Facebook.
You set it up properly.
But there's something about it that Facebook has better offers. It's a bid-based thing. Facebook has a better offer, and it's running with those. So, how can you make yours? You can, like I said, you can broaden your audience. You could increase the amount you're willing to spend. And again, like I said, if you kind of give yourself time. If it's not if you're not running an event tomorrow, you have to dig out an ad. You have time to kind of lowball Facebook and see if it'll let your ad run. Oh, it's not? Okay, I'll up it a little bit.
Yeah.
If it's not running, I'll up it a little bit. And it is just some light tweaking, and like I said, I really think if I could ban Boost Post from everybody's, I would, because I just see so many people just be like, oh, I only spent $10 and I got 3,000 people to see it. And I'm like, oh, did anyone buy anything from it? And they can't tell me, or oh, did, there was no outcome. It's just that more people saw it, which, as we've established last week, is pretty easy to get. It's easy to get eyeballs and pretty.
Right. It's right. And in any part of business, if your goal isn't specific and measurable, it's not a goal. It's just an attitude change or something. But goals have to be specific and measurable, whether you're, how long it takes to clean the restrooms, or how much it costs to make a pizza, or how much it costs to put an ad up on social media. So, and also the whole process improvement thing, ads are not panaceas. They're not panaceas if they're on the Super Bowl or if they're on, Jefferson, Lewis, and Oswego County Facebook, right? So you have to really look at what you're trying to do and understand what goalposts you have to, I'm going with the sports analogy here, what goalposts you have to put up so that you can get that's right. That's yes. Yeah, we all did. Even I did this back in high school, right? With those little paper footballs, right? And that was a million years ago. So you have to set up parameters. You have to have specific measurable goals. You have to have a distinct, if we had run that ad with the image in blue and red versus, red and blue, is that real? Could it be? I don't know. Maybe it's enough to be a difference. I'll tell you what. Just because you don't think it's a big difference, your audience isn't you.
I mean, and I know what you're thinking. You're watching this and you're like, what could it even make a difference? But the fact that one image costs literally half to get half the price to get a conversion as the other one. And I mean, I've seen large scale, Patagonia was testing button colors for their products, for their shopping cart, to add stuff to the cart. And I forget what I think they were testing red versus green, or I don't know. They're testing 2 different colors, and they found that just changing the button color increased conversions by 17%.
It's crazy. I mean, it's hard because you don't, oftentimes it's even hard to define what those variables might be,
Right.
And
Right.
I bet there's just like everything else, there's a bunch of information online about that and what people have done and the success, and what you might try based on, how things are set up or your business, but
Mhm.
Because it
And-
does matter.
Yeah.
matters.
You wouldn't think it, like I personally don't care, but clearly some people are clicking more than others, and that's good as a business for me to know. I mean, you can't fight City Hall, right?
Right. But I also think that, in addition to is the this font Helvetica better than Arial, you can test all those things.
Yeah.
But I think one of the lessons that this drives home for me, Nicole, is that representation matters. So if you are putting people in your ad using a stock photo, everyone's good at spotting those. When it looks too when the person's pulling down the open sign and it looks just too perfect because his apron is just so and his hair is a $90 haircut and stuff that you just don't see. And for just speaking for something that worked for us, when we put ads with people, we try to use people of different colors. We've had people in wheelchairs. Representation matters, and just even in our little one-off survey here, you can see that. So when you're crafting ads of any kind, you have to think about what the ad is saying, and pretend there's no dialogue, pretend there's no written words. What is the ad saying? Who is this product or service for? Who accesses it properly or frequently, and how do you treat them? It's all wrapped up right there. We don't think marketing is scientific, but it actually is extremely scientific. And I love that you teach us that every week, Nicole.
That's what I love about marketing, because in college, I was a geology major, hence the map behind me, and a French major, and I called it my right brain and my left brain. And marketing lets me do the right brain and the left brain stuff together, and I think it's really important. But like I said, if I could tell everyone one thing, do not be intimidated by the interface. Like, you'll go in, you're going to learn how to do one of them, and then you're going to think, oh, I think I want to do Google ads. And you're going to spend probably, a little bit of time poking around Google ads, but you're going to say, okay, custom audiences, remarketing pick. It says the same things in the Google ads. And you just like I said, just get one interface, and then you can approach the other ones, and
you're not going to break anything.
No, nothing. No, absolutely. And if you have a young person in your business or in your life, ask them. This is their native tongue, folks. So if you're not sure, or if you want some help, ask a young person. They know what they're doing.
Watch out with the ads. I'm going to say using something personally can be different than using it for business. I'm sorry. I might be a little bit I get told that 19-year-olds can do my job all the time. So I'm like, but I will say they natively understand that there is this targeting happening. They've received the targeting. They know what that's like. And they know, they would know how to go through and sort of individually look at each of the questions. Like I said, if you're patient, you just go through, it's going to tell you exactly what it is. There's little question marks. You can hover over them. It'll tell you more about it. It'll tell you more about that field. Like, for example, I did not know that you could turn on and off Facebook ads based on time of day. That seems newish. I knew that Google's been doing that for a while, but I did not realize until I was setting up the ads. I was like, oh, what's this? And I hovered over it. It told me. So don't be intimidated. And I really wanted to kind of go through how to set up an ad in this broadcast. And in the next broadcast, I'm calling it Social Media 201. And what I want to do is say okay, so we're in the ad interface, right? What's this other stuff that's back here that I could be using as part of my ads? What is this product catalog stuff? What is this remarketing pixel stuff? What is this, what is this other stuff back here? So we're going to kind of go over that a little bit more next week. But I thought that running the ad and sort of getting psyched to do that could take a whole broadcast, which seems like it did.
I think it did. And I just want to be clear. I don't believe a 19-year-old could suffice for a marketing consultant, but I'm speaking as a certified bona fide senior citizen here. Sometimes we don't know there's 3 arrows. Which is the next arrow? And also, people who are not native to this, they get frozen. Like, if I hit the wrong thing, something bad is going to happen. So your point, Nicole, right, don't let the interface intimidate you. You can't catch a virus. You can't on your computer. You can't lock yourself out of Facebook or Google, or that's not going to happen. So, prepare yourself mentally and emotionally. Have a coffee, have a glass of whatever you need to do. Listen, you're talking to someone who started her career on IBM Selectric, and there's a lot of business owners who did. So you have to get yourself in the right frame of mind. Don't do this 5 minutes before you open. That's not the time to do this. And if you really are unsure about the process, rewatch the video. If you have to call that 19-year-old, just remember, they're gonna grab the tablet away from you and just do it for you. You want to learn how. Trust me. I've had the phone grabbed out of my hand a million times. I'll do it, Mom. That doesn't teach me. So.
Yeah, and I will say, when I go visit my mom, we go through stuff. She'll write it in a notebook. She's super and she'll ask me questions, and sometimes we often don't have to go over it again though. So I think, and for young people, be patient. That sometimes people haven't seen this stuff before, and it could be a little intimidating, which is why, like I said, if you took anything away from this broadcast, it's that you can do smart things. You got your business through a pandemic. You figured out how to use QuickBooks or whatever, which I think is congratulations, So just know that, the ads are a journey. This is going to be just a tool in your tool belt. And if you're willing to spend some money on these social platforms, they will give you not only new customers, but information you can use. The most expensive ad set you're going to run is your first one. If I would run another ad set for you guys, which I think I might do for next time, it'll be less expensive, just because I know more about your audience, because, anybody, even someone who's experienced in ads like I am, you guys are it's a fresh account. Like I've never taken an ad out before, so if I just knew what to do, to get you really, really cheap ads, I'd be lying on a beach somewhere. I would just tell people how to do it for millions of dollars, and I would fan myself on the beach with my $1,000 bills. But the reality is
it's an experiment even for the professionals, right?
Yes,
exactly.
It really
exactly.
is.
Yep. So in every business is its own thing. So that's all I got. Do you guys have anything else to add about social media ads 101 kind of content?
Everything is available on our YouTube channel. You can go back and look at any of our stuff, and we'll see everybody next week when we'll talk about when we're sophomores, and we're going to go to 2.0.
I should make us all graduation caps for the end of this. But all right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to contact the Watertown Oswego SBDC. You can set up a free counseling appointment. You can go to one of their workshops. They have a lot to offer. So
we're here for you. We're here for business owners. Yep. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank you, Nicole.
Bye. Thanks,
Nicole.
Nicole.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.